You probably saw this symbol a lot in the days following Queen Elizabeth's passing, her royal cipher. Now Britain has a new king, and along with all the pomp and circumstance come all the little details of installing a new monarch, including a new cipher, King Charles's personal monogram. So in this video I'm going to break down its design, what makes for a good monogram, and see how his compares with those of the late Queen, Britain's former monarchs, and the other 6 remaining kingdoms of Europe. There is a litany of symbols and icons associated with royalty, all with very specific heraldic terminology. That's a whole can of worms that I'm not going to crack open today. There are many resources on YouTube where you can learn more about heraldry. Nerd recognize nerd, but I'm going to disregard all the heraldic jargon and focus on sharing my own perspective as a graphic designer. That's because in many ways the royal cipher acts as the monarch's logo. In fact, if you search for Queen Elizabeth logo, these are the Google image results. Through her 70-year reign, the E2R cipher served as the Queen's personal brand. It was emblazoned everywhere from the throne where she was coronated to maps for her lying in state. Her cipher was used by agencies ranging from the postal service to the police and armed forces, on grand palaces and mundane office buildings, monuments to memorabilia. Whether you support or oppose the monarchy, if you lived in Britain or any part of its former empire, you're likely familiar with this design, even if you never knew that it was called a cipher. Monograms are becoming rarer over time, but famously the logos for the New York Yankees, General Electric, and Louis Vuitton are all monograms. Given the ubiquitous usage of the royal cipher, it needs to be a robust piece of graphic design. The franking of mail from Buckingham Palace will be the first use of Charles's new cipher. That's a very small, low-fidelity, black and white format, one of the worst-case scenarios for any design. But the cipher also has to work for ornate applications like ceremonial uniforms, oversized on the side of buildings, and even for specialty techniques like stonemasonry and cast iron street furniture. The Royal College of Arms is an institution that deals with coats of arms and other aspects of heraldry, and they've been designing the royal cipher since the 15th century. In particular, this one was designed by the calligrapher, heraldry artist, and coin designer Timothy Node. When compared to his late mother's cipher, the King's design is immediately distinguishable due to the interwoven C for Charles and R for Rex. Unlike Elizabeth's, which had the E and R separated with the Roman numeral 2, the Roman 3 is nestled within the counter space of the letter R in the new cipher. As a monogram, it strikes a nice balance between the positive and negative space, and the interweaving between R and C is well executed, with the R's stem resting above the C on the left and the C sitting atop the R's leg on the right. The alternating back and forth between the two helps to integrate them into a cohesive figure while still being readable. This is actually harder to pull off than it looks. There's an art to finding a way to make the letters knit together without breaking up the shapes that make them distinctive. Take a look at this monogram from the Toronto Transit Commission to see how this kind of thing can easily go wrong. These letters don't alternate in front and behind each other, they just sit stacked on top of one another. Instead of creating an interlaced monogram, it looks like a jumbled pile of letters. Because the positive and negative space weren't considered, it feels cramped and awkward, and the letter forms become fractured, most clearly with this tiny sliver of a C poking out from the back. Fortunately, the artisans at the College of Arms did a much better job with the King's monogram. It feels like a real step up from the outgoing one. It's more compact and elegant by comparison, with more delicate lettering. When we compare the two R's side by side, we can see that the overall stem weight is lighter, the serifs are finer, the bowl has been enlarged, and the leg is more curved than the late Queen's. No doubt Timothy Node's calligraphic background was a great asset in designing this. Speaking of calligraphy and lettering, if that's something you'd like to try for yourself, you're in luck, because I've just created a short course on how to do calligraphic style lettering on the iPad. It's available to watch for free on the Envato Tuts Plus channel. In it, I share my entire workflow from Procreate to Adobe Illustrator and take you through the process of creating a piece of lettering art for print or social media. Link will be in the description as well as at the end of the video. I also want to take a moment to thank Envato for sponsoring this video and briefly tell you about Envato Elements. Elements is a creative subscription service that includes millions of design assets, video and graphic templates, fonts, and brushes. The affordable subscription gets you unlimited access to their huge library of creative elements for your next project. Long before they approached me to sponsor the channel, I've been using Envato Elements for both my YouTube videos and my work as a graphic designer. The assets are high quality, and their templates give you a great place to start if you're working under a tight deadline or budget. When you sign up through my link below, you'll receive a 7-day free trial, and you'll be able to keep any assets you license even if you decide to cancel. 7 days is roughly half the term of a British Prime Minister these days, so this is a fantastic offer. Thanks to Envato Elements for sponsoring the channel, and check the description or pinned comment below to try it out for yourself. Another new design feature is a change of crown. Whereas Elizabeth used St. Edward's crown, King Charles has two versions of his cipher, one featuring the Tudor crown and the other featuring the Scottish crown for use in Scotland. Side note, Queen Elizabeth also had a Scottish variant of her cipher, but it was rarely used. The initials E2R come from her decision to adopt the royal style of Elizabeth II. However, Scotland never had an Elizabeth I. They had their own queen, Mary, Queen of Scots, at the time. It's quite a touchy subject, and naturally when the Royal Mail first installed postboxes in Scotland with Elizabeth II on them, people were less than impressed. In fact, they were so unimpressed that in Edinburgh they blew up a pillar-style postbox with gelignite. Following that, the postboxes and postal vans in Scotland only displayed the Scottish crown with no royal cipher. We'll see if Charles decides to put his cipher on Scottish postboxes anytime in the future. A crown can be rather difficult to work with as a graphic. After all, its purpose is to be as elaborate and ornamental as possible, the polar opposite of a clean and clear pictographic approach. It can be difficult to render with a proper amount of detail to be clearly understood and recognized, but simple enough to reduce down for production at small size. To help with this, the black and white version of the cipher has fewer pearls along the top, 7, 4, and 7, than the full color painted version, which has 9, 5, and 9. We've talked about how many places the Queen's cipher was used. Many of those will now need to be replaced with the King's cipher, gradually over time. However, one place they will not be replaced directly is on postboxes. Postboxes bearing previous monarchs' ciphers have historically been left alone, mostly because a cast iron postbox is meant to last many lifetimes. Indeed, it's possible to find ones dating back to Queen Victoria still in use. So let's review some of those historic ciphers to see exactly what they were like. Queen Victoria's cipher, the first to appear on postboxes, integrates the two letters by using the right half of the V to form the stem of the R. Now, I understand it's a different time, different aesthetic, of course, but honestly for me, this is very ugly. The line work is wobbly and spidery, and those spirally curls are certainly not doing it for me. Edward VII is hardly an improvement. It's practically impossible to read because the E and R are just fighting so hard with one another. That said, this design makes a lot more sense when it's not reduced to a flattened two-dimensional form. It works rather well as this over-the-top ornament on the gates of Buckingham Palace, but in this more mundane form, not so much. There's very little to say about George V's postbox cipher, but this more obscure postmark version has a lot of charm that we'll actually talk about when we get to the next George, but between them, Edward VIII had a very short reign, so I'll keep it short. His cipher looks like the masthead from Mad magazine. You can see the influence of the previous George in the cipher of George VI, but the lovely symmetry of the bowl of the R and G is lost to add this superfluous loop, and the parallel angles of the stems are also gone. So overall, nice but not great. So that's how Charles compares to his predecessors, but how about his contemporaries? European monarchies are largely ceremonial at this point, but they retain a lot of the trappings and symbols of tradition. Everyone still uses some form of monogram or cipher. There are a total of 5 kings in Europe, excluding Charles, and 1 queen. So let's begin with the Scandinavian kingdoms, which account for half of these. Starting with Denmark and the group's only queen, Margareta II. Now, this is what I call a monogram. The M, Arabic, not Roman, numeral 2, and the R all fit together very well, and the balance of space is perfect. It's like a magnificent regal octopus, and with its petal-like delicate design, the stylized crown is rendered fantastically also. As a Swede, it's difficult for me to admit, but this might be the strongest of the bunch. Speaking of which, Sweden's king, Carl XVI Gustav, has a very respectable monogram, much more pared back compared to the ostentatious flourishing of the Danes, very lagom, but not without its charm. The way that Roman numeral tucks neatly under the G's extended beard is very satisfying. Then there's King Harald V of Norway, who has a very modern design for both the crown and monogram. The H is very distinctive with its tapered, straight hourglass-like stems and high crossbar bearing the Arabic numeral 5. The crown matches the monogram style with more stylized, squarer forms than the other crowns. Scandinavian countries have a proud design tradition, and these three ciphers are all strongly graphic, working particularly well in print. The other three kingdoms are somewhat different because their monograms are used less frequently in public and are more often found in embroidered form. Starting with Belgium's King Philippe, his monogram is shaped like two crossed swords, with the letters F and P both standing for the name Philippe, but one for the Dutch spelling and one for French. Then there's the Dutch king Willem-Alexander, who has a very unusual monogram. The letter forms are hefty and elaborate with exaggerated Tuscan serifs and this central loop. It also needs two layers to work, which is certainly quirky. It kind of looks like an A wearing cowboy boots, waving its arms over its head. Finally, we have King Felipe VI of Spain, whose crest looks like it belongs on the back of a leather motorcycle jacket. The lettering style is completely wild. It's also unusual for the Roman numerals to be the same size and weight as the rest of the cipher. What I didn't touch on here are the so-called dual ciphers, where royal couples have a monogram combining the letters of both of their names. It's a popular way to sign off Christmas cards from the royal family or for royal anniversary celebrations. However, no cipher designed for the Queen Consort Camilla or the British royal couple have been released for now. Considering just how widely used it will be not only in Britain but around the Commonwealth over the years ahead, I think that King Charles's cipher is a very well-designed example. These symbols are part of a long-held tradition, but good design is always truly timeless. Thanks for watching, I hope that you learned something, and feel free to check out my course over on Tuts Plus. Big thanks to our sponsor Envato Elements and my wonderful patrons on Patreon. If you want more royal design deconstruction, check out this video where it's Queen versus Queen in the challenge of whose crest is best. My name is Linus, and I hope I'll see you in a future video.